stop for a second because I didn't initially think I was going to like this either. But hear me out. This is the new Axial SCX30. And I will say that when I initially heard about this new product, I was like a bit bewildered. It didn't initially like make as much sense to me. I didn't feel like I was going to be very interested in it. And then it showed up here recently. And as you can see, it's tiny. Like this is an SCX24. And I mean, it sits on the roof of an SCX24. Just even though it's, SCX24 to SCX30, it's significantly smaller. And there's some reasons why I actually ended up kind of liking that. Today I want to run you through just the details of this thing, let you know a little bit about it, and then kind of show you what I've been doing with it and why it's actually been a decent fit for me. It's got hair wrapped around it already. But first, let me just go over the details of this thing so you can see it, get some numbers in your head, and kind of understand size-wise. So relative to things that this is a iPhone Pro Max, so it's the larger iPhone, but it comfortably sits well within the bounds of my screen in all dimensions. So if that might help you get a little bit of an idea of how this thing sits, it's a 99 millimeter wheelbase, which equates to 3.88 inches. It comes in this smart little box here. It actually is made to sit this way. So the truck sits that way. So you're gonna be able to stack these things at a hobby shop and display all of them. Now I got the Jeep. They're releasing two versions of this, I believe a Jeep and a Bronco at the time of release right now. So it's a hard body, as we've seen with a lot of Axial's SCX24s as of late, underneath of the body. The body, for one, is super well detailed. It's got a light bar across the top with 8 light pods on it, roof rack with sand ladders and, some cargo packs. It's got like the roto packs on the side, a shovel, high lift jack, and an axe, and then an additional spare tire on the rear. Which, something else about those things before we even get into it, in the box, there's a bag of all this other stuff here. And this is another set of fender flares. And I was looking at these and I noticed that these are more of like a Highline tube fender style. So you can install this set of front and rear flares that will pinch the fender flares in, like is common on full-size Jeeps. So, and then you can also take off all of these bits, these roof racks and all of that stuff, and they include these filler pieces in a bag so that you can take and just plug all of the holes up and kind of turn this into more of a stock-ish style Jeep, including a filler plate if you want to take off that rear spare tire just to get it nice and clean. Now, to get the body off, on the Capra or the UTB 18 first, they had integrated the little like Lego hand style catch to hold the front hood closed on that. They use a similar style on this one. So there's 2 in the front, and then there's a tongue here in the rear. And the tongue slides into a receiver on the back side there. So you'll just kind of put that in place and then just press it down on there. And it holds firmly, like almost a little too firmly. Like when I was first trying to take the body off for the first time, I was like, am I gonna break this? It is worth noting that the bumper comes off with the body, both front and rear. So don't think that that is going to stay. Make sure that you're not holding it down and pulling the body up. Those come at once. Once you get the body off underneath, you've got this little chassis. The chassis rails, shock towers, all of that stuff are molded in as one piece. It almost looks organic how this thing kind of flows together with where the shock mounts are and the LED mounts and in everything. It just kind of flows and it's one thing into the next. The LEDs, which are included, headlights and taillights, stay mounted to the chassis. So they line up with the lights on the front and rear of the body, but they stay on the chassis, making it super easy to take the body on and off. And then you're left with this little guy here. Now, you may notice the motor, and it's sitting transverse rather than in line like normal. On the side here, there's a 3-gear set, a pinion, an idler, and then the input gear. And that 3-gear set then feeds a worm drive in the center. And that worm drive transfers the gear rotation 90 degrees to the 2 drive shafts. not something that we have seen. Now, this motor in here may look familiar. It is, I believe, the same one or the same size one that comes in the SCX24. Yeah, it is. Which I think says more about the SCX24 than it does the SCX30. This motor feels really good in this size car. This is probably the size of the car that this motor belongs in, honestly. It's the 88 turn. In the manual, they list both a 60 and an 88 turn. I'm not sure. I assume that's just going to be like an option part or something like that. The SCX24 also uses the 88 turn, so it appears to just be the exact same motor. From there, this thing is very bare bones, like minimal, everything serves a purpose type situation. It has sliders on the side of the chassis, as you can see there, and they serve more of a purpose than just being a slider. On the driver's side, it has a elastic or a rubberized strap, and that's what actually holds your battery in. So you set the battery in there, then you just kind of put that rubber strap over top of it. On the passenger side, kind of even cooler, is this slider is also the receiver and the ESC. It's all built into this just tight little set of components there. Pretty wild. The on-off switch is odd. It's on the bottom of it. It's a little spot right there that says on-off, if you can see it. That little button. So you just press and hold it, and it turns it on and off. Kind of interesting. I haven't hit it and turned the car off on its own or anything like that, so it has not been an issue as of yet. The battery that's included is a 2S 160 milliamp battery, and it does come with a USB style charger. I just had it plugged into a little like diagnostic thing. It says it's a 1/2 amp charger, and it was charging at a little over 1/2 of an amp, so it seemed accurate. It charges pretty quickly. If you don't want to use this style charger, Spectrum does have a little dual 20-watt charger that would work perfectly for these as well. That's also fairly inexpensive. If you're thinking about picking something of these up for a Christmas gift or something like that, picking up that nicer charger might be a bonus. The size and the build of this thing is pretty wild to see. The hardware is all very tiny. It's either 1mm or 1.4mm hardware basically throughout. Lots of Phillips head hardware on this, some hex head, but not a lot. Most of it seems to be Phillips head. So get yourself a really tiny screwdriver if you're thinking about working on these, which working on these is the part that I probably find myself being the least excited in initially, just because, again, of the size of these screws. The links are all plastic throughout, but the low mass of this car doesn't initially seem to be much of an issue. It does have bent rear links for high clearance, and it's got a angled skid plate, a 9.5 degree angled skid plate on this, which again, it's just, you know, it's larger scale stuff scaled down into this little guy. And it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty cool. The tiny little drive shafts, it just, everything about looking at it initially, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a tough one to work on. And I was really unsure about how I felt it would drive, just thinking about it overall. And that kind of gets into why I both thought I wouldn't like it and why I have ended up at really enjoying this little thing. The 24 scales and the 18 scales both, I go in phases of working on, playing with, or competing with those. And I enjoyed competing with the 124 scales. That's always been my favorite side of the small scale stuff, is the competitive type trucks where we have a good local scene and we can go have 124 scale comps and it's fun. And I think the reason that I really only enjoy these on a competition side is because I feel like driving the 124 scales, for me personally, it just has never found a good spot. I feel like inside, the 24 scales are just like a little bit too big for me to go just do something fun in a tight area, like an actual desktop like I'm at now. It's like you can do a couple of quick things, but it's never something you're going to be making laps or doing a bunch of stuff. You're just kind of playing around a little bit, and then you have to go outside or whatever it is to go play with them. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to take a 110 scale because that's what I prefer. And if I'm going to go to the cool rocks, I'm going to just take a 10 scale and have a lot more fun for me. It's a personal preference thing. 1/18 scale kind of suffers that same fate for me, and I don't find the 1/18 scales to be as competitive and the comp side of things where we're at. So the 1/18 scale I play with even less. And then this little thing showed up, and it's actually something that is desktop size appropriate. And that's where I kind of found that middle ground of being like, oh, well, this is actually fun indoors at my desk playing around. And I kind of decided to take that even a little bit further, just because I turn everything into a project somehow. And what I decided to do was I was like, I'm just going to make myself like a little test course, a little thing that I can do some repeatable testing on. So I fired up Fusion 360 and decided to print myself a test course that I could 3D print. And I did that. And then it just kind of escalated. And then it just kind of kept escalating. And then I ended up with this thing, which is currently a little over a meter long. And what I've got here is these sections that I've printed and that bolt together, and you can bolt them together in different orientations. And I designed it so you could print it on anything down to like an A1 mini. They'll print in 300 or 150 millimeter sections. You can see the crosshair. I printed it, and I think that they'll be even better if you do print them that way, because you can keep mixing and matching the directions more and more rather than the double length versions that I printed here. So I've made this silly thing, and I've been having a blast with it. Now, in the flat configuration, it's nothing crazy. But what I've started doing is just increasing and increasing the angle more and more until it's something that becomes wildly challenging. And I've ended up killing battery packs with this thing, just playing around here at my, well, not on my desk specifically, but I've been setting it on the floor and wedging it up against my toolbox, and then just seeing at what level of my toolbox I can continue to crawl this thing. And that's where I've been having so much fun. I've had a movie playing while I was sitting here kind of tinkering around, and I was just driving this. I drove 2 or 3 battery packs through it while sitting in the studio. I don't know. It actually surprised me. And again, honestly, I didn't initially feel like this was going to be a product that was going to be all that much for me. I was just like, I can see this thing selling well at Christmas or whatever, but I don't see myself really liking it that much. And I think that I was mistaken on that, and it has been. Honestly, I've enjoyed it more than any stock SCX24 that I've owned in the past. SCX24s are one of those things that I felt like they were a lot of fun to change just about everything about them. And, is that a sign of a good product? I don't know. I don't know how you want to say that. Have I had a lot of fun with SCX24s doing that? Absolutely. Do I immediately feel like I need to change everything about this one? Not as much. But as I sit here and keep trying to climb this thing and make it further and further at steeper and steeper angles, I do find myself like, well, I need a little more of this, or I want to do some of that. Specifically, I'm like, well, I'm taking all of this extra stuff off this body. I'm going to get this thing lightened up as much as possible, because I've been driving it with and without the body up the course, and it's amazing how much more capable it is without the body. Obviously, there's a lot of detail and weight to that thing. I designed this course, and I kind of made it this geometric style rather than flowy, natural style. It was just like a choice, and I had a lot of fun with it. These sections are super fast and easy to model for me. I can model each one up in like 10 or 15 minutes. So I just made one, decided to make another one, decided to print a third one, and I could take these and mirror them or just rotate them around in their own way, change up my course as I see fit. Then I made a start area and a finish area, just so that I could tell, I knew I was clear of my goal when I got there. The start area, it's got a hinge down at the bottom, so it'll go up to 60 degrees. I guarantee nobody's climbing to 60 degrees with these things. With the body on this course, 37 degrees is about the perfect number of most of the time struggling, but sometimes being able to make it. Without the body, I can get up closer to that like 42, 43 degree range. And I'm just measuring that using the measure app on my iPhone. Go to the level part, something like that. So I could, for one, feel what my progress really looked like and all of that, but just have that little challenge of my own. I'll put all these pieces up on my website. I'll link to them down below. You can download them and 3D print them yourself. Now, it's not going to be the same for me as it is for you because of print settings or print, what filament you use. There's going to be different grips. So it's going to be one of those things that's just fun for anybody. I printed mine at a high layer height, like a 0.28, in PETG high flow with a high flow nozzle. So I was able to print one of these sections in a little under 3 hours for like this section down here, for example. But your printer, your filament, your nozzle, all that stuff will dictate how long something like that takes. Just depends, but it's been surprisingly fun. The one thing about this truck so far that I've had what I would call a poor experience with is the battery plug into the ESC. It's very tight, and trying to get it out of there, I was actually like pulling the sheathing back on the wires, trying to get the plug out. I ended up having to get a pair of needle nose pliers and kind of pull it out of there. It will probably loosen up after I've done it more times, but I was surprised how much effort it took to get the battery unplugged from the car, which I didn't love that. But that's been the only thing so far that I've had like somewhat of a unfavorable experience with. The radio is the SLT2. It's a very comfortable radio. For an RTR, super basic, cheap RTR radio, it's really not that bad as far as like comfort and feel overall goes. It's got foam on the wheel still, and the motion of the steering wheel isn't that bad. Once you put the batteries in, power on from the side, you'll have a super bright LED on the side. Like if you flash yourself with this thing, it's somewhat annoying. Press and hold that little button on the bottom side. Gives you a little tone, letting you know everything's there. Steering is plenty snappy. Like, again, I feel like it's got the same amount of steering power that the SCX24 does. It does use a different style of servo than the SCX24. Super tiny, and the mounting ears are straight down, kind of like some of the integrated mount style SCX24 aftermarket servos have gone to, but it is even smaller than that. It appears, at least. The axles have smooth transitions all over. They are a worm drive as well. They're a top loading style rather than like a diff cover style. Tiny drive shafts, tiny grease-filled shocks, dog bone shafts on the axles. It's all pretty reasonable. Now, one of the coolest things about the SCX24 market is that you can build everything on those trucks from the aftermarket, since it's picked up over the years and done what it's done, which is awesome. And I wonder how this scale will take off. If it'll find the same support, being that it's creating a new market. Now the SCX24 wasn't totally creating a new market. There were trucks in that genre, like the ECX Barrage back in the day before Horizon and Axial were under the same umbrella. But it never took off until the SCX24 and its popularity. So will this scale take off? I don't know. I can see why it may, and I can also see why it might not. Because working on these things is gonna be less enjoyable. The SCX24s to me are already less enjoyable than a 110 scale by a long shot. But this jump, again, but in the end, I guess only time will tell. So, for now, we've got the trucks and we get to enjoy them how they are. Like me driving on this silly little course that I've made. So I'm going to do some more of that, driving on this silly little course. I am going to take and swap off all of these extra pieces for the lighter weight variety here, just because I think that might help my performance just a little bit. So that's going to be my next order of business. But not before I probably run 1 or 2 more battery packs through this thing. So I'll include some more footage from that course. Again, if you want to download that, I'll put a link down below. If you want to see more from the behind the scenes of the channel, you want to help support the channel any extra, I've got channel membership available. You can find the links for that down in the description as well. You get extra videos, behind the scenes stuff. You get to see videos early. Yeah, just a good time, fun community. And again, we do some giveaways every once in a while as well. So if any of that interests you, find that link down below. Appreciate all the members. Appreciate anybody who watches any of the videos on the channel. But with that, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded, and I'll do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.